Hi, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flick Show. My name is Chris Wong. I got a very special guest with me right now. He's a filmmaker and an actor. His name is Gavin Downes. Gavin Downes from Toronto, Canada. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Chris, and just want to thank you for having me on the show. Big fan of yours, and I'm glad to be here.
Oh, great, perfect. Hey, so you contacted me and you said that you had some things that you wanted to share, and I thank you for coming on to my show because I think this is some of this stuff here is very important in industry, I believe. What type of projects were you acting? Do you act in like giant tentpole projects?
Well, the biggest tentpole project I ever worked on for sure was Suicide Squad. I did originally have a small role in that, and unfortunately, it didn't make the final cut. But it was still a dream come true to be a part of, the Snyderverse and work with David Ayer and Will Smith and Margot Robbie and be a part of a DC film. As I've been a massive DC fan my whole life, and so just getting to work on the project was incredible. And then, yeah, unfortunately, when it came time for the premiere, we were sitting there waiting for my scene that never came. And then when the credits rolled, my name wasn't there either. So it's pretty tough, but I still, have the memories working on the project, and I like to share the fact that I was on it for sure.
That is super super unfortunate. Can you share what role it was at least? I know there's probably NDAs that you have that you can't fulfill. I'm glad that you're able to say that you were on Suicide Squad, but can you share your role?
Yeah, so I was playing a military police soldier. It was, a scene involving a few other actors as well. And I can't go too much deep into the context of the scene, but yeah, it was directed right there by David Ayer. I was on set with all the rest of the cast and crew, and yeah, it was quite the experience. A little disheartening to have a chance like that to take my career to the next level with a role like that. But you know, we'll see where the future takes us.
So that I saw that your credit on IMDb, which is cool because it says your name and it says MP Soldier, and but it says uncredited. So with that, and anybody can go on IMDb right now if you want to go check it out. He is on there now. Does that, even though it says uncredited, how did IMDb pick that up? Did they contact
Yeah.
you or how did that work?
So originally, before the film came out, I was accredited. And then once the film was released and my name wasn't in the final credits, I was listed as unaccredited. And if you'll notice, even Ben Affleck is, because when the trailer company cut the film, I guess they, missed some people and didn't have Ben in there either. So from Ben Affleck down, we're all unaccredited. And I know quite a few of my friends who worked on the project as well and are listed as unaccredited and stuff like that. So yeah, it was definitely an unfortunate case.
Wow. So you said that you were listed first. Does that mean did you see a cut where you were in the film, or the only cut you saw was the theatrical where you did not see yourself?
Yeah, the only cut I ever saw was the theatrical, and right away I could tell that it wasn't quite the movie that David Ayer had shot and intended to release. There was a lot that I was there for that I know was shot and never made the final cut of the film. And even from the very first trailer that was released, you could tell that he had a certain tone and look he was going for, and then it drastically changed as the next trailer came out, the Bohemian Rhapsody one. And yeah, I know even probably Jared Leto was a little frustrated with how much he actually shot, and that didn't make the final film as well. So.
Oh man, that really sucks. Now I know you. I'm not really familiar of how actors work and stuff like that. Can you kind of fill in how how artists or people who want to get a job, they have like a resume, and they show a whole list of movies that they were in, so that the person can see what type of things you acted in stuff. Are you allowed to even put your name, put Suicide Squad as a piece of work that you done, especially when they don't see it in the credits and stuff? Are you allowed to share that?
Absolutely, yeah. Because I still, I still was cast in the role. I still, worked on the set. I was, shot my scene, got paid for it.
Mhm.
I have my acting contract still sitting at home. And so, yeah, no, definitely, I do share the fact that I was in the film. If someone asks, oh, is it in your demo reel and stuff like that, then I say, the scene unfortunately was cut. I have been told a few times that if I contacted Warner Brothers, I might be able to get my hands on the footage. But since it's footage they didn't want released, I don't see that being very likely. But
Oh no! Wow. And when you say deleted, do they like, well, why did it get deleted? Was it because it wasn't that good or something? You can share that that's the decision of the studio.
yeah, I think it actually came down to the context of the scene. They within the whole film, the context of the film, I think it was something that after the backlash of Man of Steel and BVS and stuff, that they didn't really want to, keep pushing that tone. And so I think that's why they deleted the scene. I was even hoping that when they released the Blu-ray, the extended cut, they either put the scene back in or at least had it in the deleted scenes, and it wasn't even there. So
Oh man, yeah, they had it extended cut, but that was mostly to add more Jared Leto
right,
back into the film, which was good. But I think you're right. The way the look of the film and everything, it just didn't match. I think a couple of people who were able to see Ayer's cut says it was different. Ayer's cut was better, much darker, probably more in line with the Snyderverse than how it came out in theaters. So
definitely.
yeah, so I feel terrible for you guys,
Yeah,
and that's why we're doing this. We're trying to get more people because at least you're, I guess, not fortunate enough, but at least you're credited on
yeah,
IMDb, even though you're not credited in the film, but you're able to talk about it. There are
yeah,
other people who were cast in, like in Justice League, that weren't credited at all. They're not even
right,
listed, and that's just super unfortunate.
yeah,
And hopefully more people come out. But you said there are more people
yeah.
like you, that your friends who were in the Suicide Squad film that were cut out.
Yeah, and some of the actors in the scene with me, so yeah, they were cut out as well. And then I know quite a few people that were brought on as specialists. They have background in the military and stuff, and they were brought on to basically work with the stunt performers and all that kind of stuff, and be in some of the scenes. And they didn't really get utilized either, and we're pretty upset about that. And really, it comes down to the fact that I really feel for David. He had a vision that he wanted to execute, and the execs took control over his project, and a product that wasn't his vision was released in the end. And as a filmmaker and producer and writer and part-time director, I know how frustrating that must be. Any artist, if they had their work tampered with, is going to be upset for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I feel for you and feel for all the directors as well. Um, you said you're a filmmaker. What
Yeah.
type of films have you done?
So, coming right out of film school, I did a bunch of award-winning short films. One was a World War II piece that we won Best Picture for at our school festival. Then I wrote an LGBTQ film about a trans girl who is identifying as a boy and her struggles with that, and her mother trying to accept it. And we won Best LGBT Short in Los Angeles. And then right after that, we went into production on our feature film, Beyond Hell, which is a dark fantasy 80s style horror film, kind of like Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff. And I co-produced that with my friend Alan Murray, who wrote and directed the film. And I was the lead villain. So we just won Best Picture and Best Special Effects at Shockstock this year. And we're going to continue our festival run with that. And then we got another project right now in the pipeline called Sanctum, which is a film by my buddy Persona Paul, and it's a big robot smash 'em up movie, sci-fi, post-apocalyptic, and it's going to be pretty cool.
Wow, that's awesome. Beyond Hell. There
Yes.
is a trailer, Alana. I'll link the description to I'll link the trailer in the description below for everybody to see. And I wanted you guys to check it out. But so give me the lowdown on that movie. I mean, I saw some scenes and it looks really straight up horror, but can you give me a summary of that movie?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, a guy and his girlfriend go to South America, and they get captured by a cult who sacrifice his girlfriend, and then they drug him with a drug called changa, which is a form of ayahuasca. And basically, it opens him up to the hell dimension. And my character, which is Belial, who is the angel of darkness, and basically he latches on to him. And when he goes back home, he gets his friends to do the drug as well, and latches on to the main lead actress, and basically uses a form of the Necronomicon, where he starts killing off her friends one by one to gain their souls, so he can gain enough power to enter our world and overthrow Satan, and basically create a new kingdom here on Earth for himself.
Wow, that's epic.
Yeah.
Now the trailer had scenes like it was leading up to something.
Right. Yeah.
Does it get pretty epic and towards the end, like it gets crazy?
It does, actually. She actually gets transported into the hell dimension, and the scenes there are pretty epic. We shot at this incredible cave system that goes hundreds of feet into the ground, and we have multiple original demon characters all through it. A lot of practical effects enhanced by CGI, and of course, it's our first feature film. It's an indie film. We raised the money entirely privately through an investor, and so it was a very ambitious project for our first one. So it is what it is. It's a lot of fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. Belial has a great time, killing and creating mayhem. So if you like 80s style horror films, then you'll like Beyond Hell, for sure.
Right. And I would like to share that you're playing Belial. That's you in the costume, and it looks like, when I saw that, when you came on screen, I was like, man, that looks fantastic. That's like Hollywood level. Not that you're Hollywood level effects there on your costume aesthetics and stuff. So I thought that was really, really, really cool.
We had a company called Locked in the Cellar, who's amazing special effects makeup team, and they created the 5-piece facial prosthetic for me. And it's in 5 pieces so that it can all move independently of each other, and I have a lot of free range with my face and stuff. And then we had a full suit head to toe, so I'd be in that suit for a long time, and it was pretty tough at times because you get pretty hot, and sometimes you feel like you're going to pass out, but it definitely helps take on the character, that's for sure.
Oh wow! So he's definitely like, when actors telling like, well, I got in the Batman suit or the other suit, and it's like really hot. You're like, I know what that's like.
For sure. And we have another 5 sequels planned in that franchise, so I'll be wearing the suit a lot more.
Oh no way! So that's gonna come after the Sanctum movie?
Yes. Yeah, we'll probably go back into production on Beyond Hell 2, but we have some other projects in the pipeline as well. We're shooting another feature this summer as well. I don't think we even have a working title yet. The script is being finalized now, and it's more of like a thriller, kind of like Home Alone meets Rambo, really unique story. Yeah, it'll be cool.
Interesting.
Alan Murray again. Yeah. So I'm actually sitting at the Post House now, Post City Picture and Sound. They're the ones who did all the visual effects and sound design and score and everything for our film Beyond Hell.
Oh wow! Yeah. I noticed a lot of movie posters in the background. Were you in that?
I'm actually full out that one over there, which is the story of Ariana Berlin. She was a famous gymnast who was in a horrific car accident and told she was never going to be a gymnast again. But she was able to overcome that and come back from it and win the UCLA championship. And so I was a PA on that set and did some background as well, but it was a really cool set to be on. I worked with Art Hindle and a bunch of other really amazing actors. So yeah, Post City did the work on that film as well. And then I actually have one of my friends' posters up on the wall too, that a film called Head Case that a local friend of mine had shot and stuff. So they've been well known to us. We've been working with them for a long time. Persona, who's shooting Sanctum, him and I and my friend Alan Murray, we all went to the same film school together, and that's how we met up. Yeah, so it's kind of become a tight-knit community.
Yeah, that's awesome that you guys are all working together and stuff like that on that. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of projects you're doing on for that. That's amazing. Now, do you get casted in a lot? How do you get casted in, like, if you want to see a big tentpole film, and do you have an agent that casts you in those roles? Or is it something that's they call you up and says, "Hey, I got your, I see your work here. I want you to be put in this role." How are you contacted by these giant studios if you were to do smaller screens?
Yeah, it's kind of a combination of everything. Of course, you always have to have an agent that's submitting you for auditions, and I go for quite a few auditions all the time and stuff. But a lot of times too, people will have seen my work, seen short films that I'm in. I have another short film coming out too called Fish, which is about Albert Fish, the serial killer cannibal, and I play him, which is pretty intense short film, really beautifully shot. But yeah, I get offered a lot of roles all the time, mostly villains. People like my work. And then I guess I'm typecast as the villain, which is all right. It's a lot of fun playing the villain. So, but then I also, I keep my eye open for casting calls, open casting calls and stuff like that. There's quite a few all the time. And then when I hear of different projects that are coming to shoot in Toronto, I'll talk to my agent and see if they can get me in there on certain ones that I really want to audition for. I unfortunately didn't get to work on Shazam, which was also shot here, but yeah, I was like, come on, 2 DC films in a row. That'd be nice.
That'd be pretty awesome. That would have been awesome if you got into that. Yeah. So only when it comes into Canada, Toronto, Canada, you kind of seek them out. It's not something like if there was something somewhere and they said you got to come over to Georgia or whatever. I don't know how that works, but would you do that? Could you do that?
Absolutely. In fact, I'm planning on coming to spend some time in LA for a while, and I want to do some auditions down there, come down for pilot season. I actually just applied to audition for a commercial shooting in Mexico, stuff like that. So yeah, I'll definitely travel around. That's my goal for sure, is to go all over the world and shoot. I think that's one of the best parts of being an actor, right? Is you get to go to all these different far off lands and create magical movies and play a role that is completely outside of yourself. So
yeah. Oh, that's cool. What do you like better? You're more like, I want to be more of a filmmaker than an actor, or it just whatever project comes up in mind that you'll just take it on?
Yeah, if I feel passionate about a project, it doesn't matter which role I'm in. I've worked heavily with the art department, special effects, makeup, costume design, co-directing with my friend, all that kind of stuff. For me, it's all about the art of the film. And no matter where I fall into it, I just love working on films and being a part of the cast and the crew. I think at the end of the day, I love being in front of the camera. That's why I became an actor in the first place. I think my favorite thing is to take on characters. Like that's what I really want to focus on, is being a character actor, where I'm playing someone, you know, completely different from myself and completely different from the last role I did every time.
Wow. That almost reminds me of like, you know, how these other actors like Jared Leto, for instance, where he goes to extremes, or actually Christian Bale, he would take on roles that's challenging. And I always thought, I was like, really, you really want to go into extremes like that? But that is a thing to for actors, right? Is to challenge yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's a great example. So is Joaquin Phoenix, who's another huge favorite of mine, and Daniel Day-Lewis and stuff, who delve so far into these characters. And I know that there's a lot of people who think they get lost in these characters, kind of like with Heath Ledger and the Joker and stuff. But that's just part of our craft. You know, we want to embody the character, not ourselves. So we try to take on a different persona while we're shooting the films. And even with Belial, when you watch the film Beyond Hell, you'll see that it's definitely not me. It's a very character. Yeah. And
No, you can definitely tell, because you look like a nice guy, and that guy did look like a nice guy.
I know, that's why I always wondered why I got the villain roles at first. And but yeah, my mom's always like, when are you going to play a nice guy? I'm like, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, MP Soldier was kind of a nice guy, right? No, but well, I know you can't go into context of that, but
he wasn't so nice in the scene. But
oh, okay, I guess so, because they had those other guys in the prison that were not so nice. I think that's probably what you're trying to hint at. But like, so because you were able to make your own movies and stuff, was there's nobody essentially looking over your shoulder, right? You can essentially make what you want to make. And I don't think we actually recorded this, but you said Sanctum is coming out on, how is it coming out?
So we're going to be shooting a proof of concept actually in August. And the VFX artist Persona Paul, who worked on Beyond Hell, this is his film. And like, the guy does some incredible work. The robots and stuff in this are going to be amazing. So it's a lot of CG, but with also with live action. I'll be playing human form me, and we're going to be taking it to Netflix to pitch as a Netflix original, because that's where we really feel that it fits. And it needs that kind of budget and stuff like that. But so after we have the proof of concept, we'll put the whole pitch package together and then take it and present it to them. It's all the storyline's being flushed out now and stuff, but it's post-apocalyptic sci-fi thriller, and will be pretty badass and really awesome. And if we can release the proof of concept online as well, we will, for sure, so that people can see that.
So you mentioned Netflix, and that's interesting, because I've heard that Netflix is very open to independent films, to projects, and they pretty much let the person do whatever they want. Is that true? Have you got that impression from Netflix?
Absolutely. I think that's why even Ben Affleck with Triple Frontier and stuff have gone and started working with Netflix, and so many other big actors. Hilary Swank has a new one coming out called I Am Mother. That looks,
I saw that trailer. That looks badass.
Badass. I like that. And actually, it was funny because just as we were working on Sanctum, that trailer comes out, and I'm like, oh, cool, right? Has that kind of feel to it, right? And so, yeah, I think for sure that Netflix and other streaming services and stuff too are changing the game of how things are done. And they really do respect the filmmakers and allow them the freedom to create the art that they're trying to do. It's like David Ayer, even right after Suicide Squad, went and did Bright.
Oh, Bright. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which I really dug too. I love that movie. So I think that it's really starting to push things. It's like people saying that, oh, Netflix movies shouldn't be in the Oscars. And I'm like, well, why? They're also released in theaters as well. at the same time. But Netflix is respecting the people who can't even afford to go to the show to see a movie. You know what I mean? So you can't, put them down for trying to look out for everybody. And it's changing the game and changing the way content is viewed. Most people now view content through streaming. More and more grows every day. Most of the time, people are watching content on their cell phones. So,
yeah, that's true. And they watch this, it's probably going to be on a cell phone. Although I had some cases, people said, we went to the Snyder Con, and some people came up to me and they're like, I've seen your face on my bedroom television. I'm like, that is creepy.
I actually watched Zack Snyder tell you that, and I was like, wow, that is so amazing, and congratulations to you, man, because
no, thank you.
That's my hero, and I watch you every day too. So when he said that, I was like, right on, man. This is cool. Yeah, and I wish I could have been there with you guys and met you all in person. I was unfortunately shooting some stuff at the time and couldn't get away. But I was at one point, I was like ready to press the button and buy my tickets, and then I got cast in something and couldn't get away. But you guys look like you had an amazing time. You guys all did a fabulous job and getting to the bottom of it, asking him about the hard truths, and he told you right to your face that it exists and it's done, and it's just up to WB. So I just thank you and everybody involved in the Snyder Cut movement, man, because I think it's because of you guys and everyone else that it's going to happen. We're going to get the film.
I certainly really feel optimistic about it. Of course, there's rumors out there that I don't really want to, it gives me hope, but I don't want to put all my hope into that. If you know what I mean. But it's kind of cool because when you're at SnyderCon and then after everything's said and done and everybody got a little piece of what Zack Snyder had to share, we kind of just pieced it all together. It was almost like he was passing the torch to us, saying, it's up to you guys now to help me get this release. I'm going to go work on Army of the Dead, And as a filmmaker, as yourself, you probably could relate to that, and it would have been really cool. One day, maybe you guys can interact, filmmaker to filmmaker. I think that's a type of level, And I certainly know that he probably understands your reasoning and things like that. And you're both gonna be on a Netflix original, if it's all approved and stuff.
Totally. My dream, if I had been able to go to the event in LA, I was basically, because I knew everybody else was going to ask about the Snyder Cut and everything, so that was handled. I was going to ask him if he'd be my mentor.
Yeah.
And there isn't a better artist, I think, working in the industry today, and his visual eye is very similar to mine and what I like from a movie. Like Man of Steel and BVS are my two favorite movies of all time. And not just comic book movies, but movies in general. The look of the story, the cast. That guy can cast people better than anybody, man. He gave us Batfleck. He gave us Wonder Woman. He gave us Henry Cavill as Superman. Like, you can't cast better than that. And then even Jason Momoa as Aquaman and stuff. I just wanted to see the Snyderverse. I remember at one point on IMDb, every single upcoming DC movie had Zack Snyder as producer, and that just made me feel good about the future of the DC universe, right?
Right. Oh, that's definitely. Wow. When he says as producer, do you ever see him on set or anything like that? Did you on Suicide Squad?
I didn't see him on Suicide Squad, but I know for a fact he was on the set of Wonder Woman quite a bit, because there's even pictures of him there. And, he co-wrote the story for Wonder Woman. I know he was very hands-on in the early stages of Suicide Squad. Him and David Ayer met and discussed the plans for it. Of course, that the continuity was there because we had Ben Affleck in it. And I think the Ayer cut would have been even more connective, but I think they were already trying to course correct at that time. So,
so they were already trying to course correct it during the shooting of?
Yeah,
the Suicide Squad?
for sure. Yeah. I don't know how much I can say on that, but I'm
Right.
pretty
No.
sure
Yeah.
things.
Anytime you let me know when to shut up about that. I don't want to
So,
get you in trouble. That's not my intent. But I do want to share the people that worked on these films and actually get cut out or acted in the film and get cut out and not get their due diligence. And I think that's really important in this industry in this type of cases. Um, Now, is there anything? So you weren't on Justice League, right? Was that
no.
something you almost wanted to get involved with, or was that like out of your wayside?
Uh,
Were you like at that time, knowing what happened to Suicide Squad, were you kind of like, I don't really want to work for Warner Brothers, or did you have any of those feelings at all?
no, I don't think I'll ever have those feelings because at the end of the day, every company makes mistakes, and Warner Brothers has and always will be my favorite production company. Their films are my favorite, every single one of them. I love the fact that they have darker, grittier tone. To me, I like those movies that make you think, more intellectual, less quippy jokes and that kind of stuff. I love Marvel movies as well. Don't get me wrong. I'm a massive Marvel fan and have been as a kid. But I definitely prefer DC's films, like, even Warner Brothers Tarzan and Warner Brothers Jungle Book, which was called
Mm-hmm.
Mowgli. Love that movie. And I just
Yeah.
like these, darker tone, more adult driven films.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all the comic books I read growing up. My favorite ones were the darker ones, like The Dark Knight Returns, and so many other great comics that's why DC always has spoken to me. Joker is probably my favorite character in any media or genre, and Superman, Batman, the Trinity, really, like, it can't get better than that for me. I love the fact that Zack Snyder reimagined Superman as, how I would have always wanted to see him, a more serious character, more relatable. And Man of Steel was just so beautiful and yeah, incredible. I can't say enough about those films. But no, I would always want to work for Warner Brothers. Of course, I would have loved to be a part of Justice League. I think I might have been more disappointed when that film came out, even
Oh,
from it, just because I was
right,
film altogether. Um,
right.
if I had never seen Zack Snyder's previous films, I probably would have enjoyed Justice League because it's still a Justice League movie.
Mm-hmm.
But because I had, and my expectations were here, and then I got this, I was pretty
Right.
tough.
There's a
Especially
lot.
if Infinity War comes out, and you're like, oh, we could have had that over here at DC. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. That's funny because I did do a tidbit video on that about how there are different studios seem to be making the same movie, released in the same year and stuff like that, like Armageddon, Deep Impact.
Yeah.
And if they had just got through with Justice League and let Zack Snyder do it, we would have had almost the same film. Well, essentially the same elements of the same film on screen in the same year or something like that.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. I've heard rumors about people saying, "Oh, they sent in Josh Whedon on purpose."
Oh man, yeah, I know that's the conspiracy. And I'll let people like Film Gob do that best because he's although he's a real hater of the MCU,
Is it?
real, yeah, he doesn't like it at all.
Yeah,
But he likes deep movies and stuff like that, and that's something I appreciate because he knows the art of those other movies
for
like
sure.
Nicholas Winding Refn and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, just considering how much stuff was cut out, people getting cut out and stuff, and they cannot talk about it. The NDAs are involved.
Yeah.
Do these NDAs expire, or how does that work?
I don't think there's really an expiration date on. Once a film's been released, you can obviously talk about what was seen in the film, right? It's like
Mm,
all the time we'll take photos of ourselves in costume on set and stuff like that. And then once the shows or the films have been released, then we can share those images online, because then people have already seen them, and we're not showing anything that the studio is trying to hide during production. It's like, since Endgame's come out, and you have like, Chris Pratt and stuff sharing videos that they shot on set. So you can do that kind of stuff, but I think where the NDAs still stay in place is where if a studio releases a film and doesn't show certain content because they didn't want that to be seen or to be released to mess with their continuity or anything like that, I think you're pretty much still not allowed to really speak about it. And who wants to, piss off a company like Warner Brothers, where you're trying to be an actor in the industry, and you don't want to step on any toes or burn any bridges, that's for sure.
Right. So, but that is interesting that you could at least share it, and you're on IMDb. That's because of the fact that the first part you were credited, and then afterwards you weren't. While in the cases of, as you know, Ray Porter is, well, maybe dark side. I don't really want to say, but it's alluded that he is dark side, yet it's not even credited, not even mentioned. And I don't know how they were film exiles were able to get that. Now, do you think that's because they was already tampering with the project already, to the point that he didn't even get a chance?
Yeah, I think pretty much that they wanted to remove Darkseid from the story altogether, to make it a more self-contained solo film, like not solo film, but its own film, where it didn't have to lead into Justice League 2, because they weren't sure where they were going to go after they pretty much decided they weren't going to go with Snyder's vision for the next couple films. So they basically just removed them all together and all mention of them. So unfortunately, a person like Ray Porter gets, totally sidelined. And I find it amazing that, someone in particular told someone in particular that Ray Porter was Darkseid and let him run with it. And I think that's great, because it wasn't Ray Porter who broke any NDAs or anything like that. It just came to light, and that's great to hear that could happen, because I can imagine how frustrated being cast as Darkseid and then having that taken away from you would be. I don't know how you recover from that one.
Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of people that were cut out, and I know, we're trying to find other people to come on and come out and talk about that. Do you think with more actors and people who were cut out coming out to talk about that thing, do you think that would have an impact in getting the Snyder Cut? And after the Snyder Cut, we're really going to push for the Ayer cut. Do you think it will have an effect?
I think so, definitely. The more voices that come out and speak about their experience, and the fact that they were disheartened by the way that the studios treated the directors, the filmmakers, the actors, and just showing that there's all these people out there that were affected by this, not just Zack Snyder and not just David Ayer, but that it ripples down the chain of people. Now, again, these are companies that are investing hundreds of millions of dollars into these films, and at the end of the day, they own the property, and they're going to do what they want with it. But I think that the voices of the fans and the people involved has reached Warner Brothers, and I think that they are hearing us. And like most people say, there's no real downside to releasing the Snyder Cut. It's a win-win for Warner Brothers. They're going to make some money on it no matter how it's released. I think that once it's released and people get to see it, I hope that sets them on another course correction where they want to go back to that. And maybe one day we'll get Zack. I know we've been hoping for that, and it really depends on what they're going to do and the current situation, and there's probably a new president and such about whether Zack Snyder. But I think right now he's kind of like you guys, happy to be with a
if you get your stuff released on Netflix originals, and that might be the platform for you afterwards, because there's a lot of great original content on Netflix, and Zack Snyder seems to be leaning that way because they're so open to independent filmmakers such as yourself.
Yeah. And they definitely have the money to back it up. Netflix is actually opening up another headquarters here in Toronto. So they are looking to expand in Toronto and starts really supporting Canadian filmmakers, because our Netflix here in Canada isn't the exact same as your guys' Netflix, because
really?
they have to have a certain percentage of Canadian content in their Netflix. So it actually pushes bunch of other content, like American content and stuff like that, just to make room for the Canadian content. So they're hugely supportive of not just Canadian films, but foreign films in general. We, like, our Canadian Netflix has tons and tons of foreign films on there. They even I went to Sundance last year and they bought up every film that was there. Netflix is, I know it comes from a place for demand for content, and they need content, but they're helping filmmakers' dreams come true for sure. And
that's pretty amazing for a company like Netflix. It's not even, and I think, I don't know the numbers, but they're getting up there with Warner Brothers. And I like that. I mean, that means we'll get more of these films that directors' visions is like 100%, like they're really, it's not going to be tampered with at all. But do you think, in your opinion, Warner Brothers with Walter Hamada and what we've seen from Birds of Prey and Joker look like we're going back to that director-driven studio that they've always promised?
I definitely hope so, and I think so. For one, thought the Joker trailer looks absolutely incredible. I love the fact that DC is deciding to do these one-offs, like their Black Label or Elseworld stories. I hope they continue to do that, as well as also keep the DCEU moving forward. And with Birds of Prey, from what I've seen of it, I don't know enough about it yet. I'd have to see like an actual trailer to sense the tone of it and stuff. But I think with someone like Margot Robbie and the power she kind of pulls there now, she's been able to, help control the vision of this project. And I'm really excited to see it. I would totally love to see Jared Leto come back and play the Joker again. I actually really liked his interpretation, minus the damage tattoo on his forehead.
That was one of the big things people were like, well, was that really necessary? But were you able to meet those people? Like, not in context, but just in general, like.
The only person I didn't meet was Jared Leto, but I met Margot Robbie, Will Smith, Jai Courtney, Jay Hernandez. But that was the second time I actually worked with Jay, because I was also in the show The Expanse. And I did like 3 seasons of that show. So I worked with Jay quite a bit. Even in one of the very first episodes, Jay and Thomas Jane are standing right in front of me, and I'm right behind them. And because I started basically as just background on that show, and over the seasons they kept developing my character. So I went from a Belter citizen to joining the ranks of the military, and then to a squadron leader and stuff. And so I've worked. So I worked with Jay quite a bit. He's just such a super nice guy, and really fun to work with him. Will Smith was incredibly nice. He came up to me when I first came on set and congratulated me on getting the role, and would say hi to me every morning. Margot Robbie is just a sweetheart, like so friendly and so nice. And Harley Quinn's like one of my favorite characters, and just getting to see her walk around in front of me, I was like, it was an incredible experience. Even Jai was super nice too, and it was a great set to be on. David was really cool. I probably relate to him a lot because he's got that same kind of like skater East LA vibe to him and stuff.
Oh,
Pretty cool, dude. It was a great set for sure. One of the best experiences of my life. Yeah.
wow.
And I hope to repeat it again someday. To work on a Warner Brothers film and a DC film in general would be my dream come true for sure. And this especially.
How long were you working on that, on Suicide Squad? How long were you working?
So the scene I had was only one day, but I was on set for a lot more of it. They had me there in case they would need to use me again and stuff. So I was there for a lot of the productions. I was there when they were shooting right downtown Toronto. I was there actually hanging outside when they shot the scene at the steakhouse where Viola Davis is eating steak and everything. And then the same day they shot that scene with Ben Affleck at the end of the film. So I actually knew Ben Affleck was in the film long before any of that was released.
Oh, wow. Scoops.
It's too bad. Too bad I'm not allowed to scoop.
Yeah, no, that's all right. But that's cool to actually be seeing with those big name actors and actresses and stuff like that. Wow. Yeah. And that's only because they were in Toronto, Canada, that you actually were able to get into that, you know?
Yeah, and well, as soon as I heard that they were coming to shoot Suicide Squad, directed by David Ayer, I was like, I have to be in this film. So I fought my way in. I'll say that.
Oh, yes. Well, that's cool that you're able to do that. Man, it would have been great to see you on in that movie, but at least we get cool. Yeah. Yeah, at least I'll list all the different things. I'll put your IMDb link so people can check out where you've been, and that'll be kind of cool. The Expanse, I've heard of that. I've never watched it, but I've heard of that. But to see you have actually I gotta go check that out.
Yeah, it's an amazing sci-fi show, and now I think they've moved to Amazon. They were originally on Sci-Fi. But yeah, they've moved to Amazon. It's all based on a book series. Each book is like this thick, and they're award-winning sci-fi novels, and really, really cool take on sci-fi. It's like basically people are even living in the asteroid belts around planets, and they're mining the asteroids. So in the first season and everything, I'm basically in this asteroid colony, and it was such a crazy set to be on. Their budget was like Game of Thrones level budget, so it was pretty
yeah. No, I've seen like trailers and spots for like, wow, this looks like a real like a sci-fi film, like a actual film, and it's just amazing how TV has got so far ahead, like Game of Thrones, that looks like actual films and episodic films, if you will.
Like I want to go into working on series so bad because. Yeah, the budgets are there for it now, and you're basically each episode is almost a feature film in itself, right? Because they're an hour plus long, and so yeah, I think it would be incredibly fun to work on a series like that, especially if it runs 5+ seasons and stuff like that. You become a family with the cast and crew, and you grow over time together. Like most of the cast of Game of Thrones is literally grown up on the show, So it's pretty cool. I also am a big fan of Vikings. Have you ever watched?
Yeah, I've watched a couple episodes of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a Canada Ireland co-production. So it's heavily Canadian. And even though the woman who plays Lagatha, she's from Toronto, Ontario here. And,
so have you tried getting into that? Have you tried asking to be a part of that?
I was going to, and I'm still thinking about it. But at the time, I had been shooting Beyond Hell and working on all these other projects that I just did because they shoot over in Ireland, right? So I didn't have the time to do that. And I'm not sure because I've heard rumors that they might be in their last season now. So we'll see. If they continue on with it, then I'd love to go try to do that. I'm half Irish myself, and I'd love to go out there and shoot that. It'd be fun.
Yeah, definitely. I hope you get the chance because seemingly that's one of your favorite shows and stuff like that. Able to do that, but Vikings, yeah. So those set
Yeah.
period pieces, that must be some grueling. I mean, it looks like it looks easy, but being in that all that and out in the wilderness or in the forest or something like that, that must be
Yeah,
really grueling.
they said it was,
Hmm.
it rains a lot. It was really cold. It was pretty tough to be on set, they said. And yeah, so, but they built the whole Viking village. Like it was all totally real. It wasn't like sets. They were actually like full on real houses and the long rooms and all that stuff. So it would have been
Yeah.
really cool set to be on, and easy to imagine yourself in that world as an actor. So that would have been really cool.
Right, right. But at least for those things, it seems like the directors want those actors and actresses. They cast them as we're going to have in there. Um, and just to go back to that being cut out, how producers like it's okay when the director says, I think it's okay when the director says, "Well, I changed my mind. I really don't want that scene in there, and so I'm sorry that you got cut out." But
Oh yeah,
it's a different story when the studio says, "I don't want that," right? But
yeah,
the director wants that, and I think that's the important part, right? Because I gather this happens more often than not that people get cut out, right?
yeah, big time. Yeah, and I know from being there on set that David wanted this scene in the film. So knowing that it wasn't his choice to have it not in the film, it's one thing. Yeah, if it doesn't fit the director's vision, totally understandable, because you never really know what the your final product is going to be until you go to edit it together, and then you're like, okay, that doesn't fit, that doesn't work, we need to reshoot this. We need to do some pickups here. We need inserts here. There's all kinds of stuff like that. Like we have so much B-reel and deleted scenes from Beyond Hell, like that will eventually put on the Blu-ray and DVD and stuff like that. So I know what it's like. Where it's unfortunate sometimes that someone's like, yeah, I got this little role in a big film or something, and they're hoping that that's going to be their breakout moment, right?
Mhm.
And then it gets cut. So
Right. Right, like you said, it's the breakout moment, and that's why I see like Zack Snyder casting, like people are like, back in the day they were like fan casting these different Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman,
yeah,
Flash, and but he decided to go against the studio wishes and say
yeah,
that I want Gal Gadot for this one, Ezra Miller for this, all people, Jason Momoa for this person because he had a vision in mind. And at the same time, I feel like he's giving opportunity for these people to be casted in these roles. And
absolutely.
while they got Ben Affleck, he got Ben Affleck's Batman because this Batman was a seasoned Batman, like the end of the road Batman. So he felt, well, we should get a seasoned actor, to fulfill that role. And so with that in mind, like he had visions, and just like how you would have visions and David Ayer have visions of their product, and this is the way they want to put it. Now they could say, well, we don't like that certain scene and stuff like that, but in this
Yeah,
case, like you said, he wanted you in that scene, he wanted that scene, and it's just unfortunate the studio cut that out,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
definitely.
it just really feel for all the actors and actresses for these type of movies that really the director really wanted to be in there, like you said, breakout roles. They could have
Yeah,
expanded their you know uh, essentially their own demo reel and resume,
yeah,
and for other studios to pick up and say, hey, I like that, you know
yeah,
uh, or imagine they saw you on Suicide Squad and it's like, I like how you act in that. I want you to be in my other movie, but
totally.
unfortunately, they couldn't see that, right?
Exactly. It was like right before Suicide Squad was released, and it was one of the most anticipated films at the time. And Margot Robbie is like, her star rating on IMDb was #1, and then like people under her were all from Suicide Squad as well. And I was within the top 50 actors in the world at that time on IMDb. And then when I became unaccredited and everything, and the poor response to the film, I dropped right back to like 500,000 or something like that.
Oh no! Wow.
Crash.
Yeah, I know. See, that's the thing. It's like that really takes me off because that's opportunities that were there. And like I said, it would have been so bad if the director came out and says, well, it didn't work for the movie because it's my vision. But this is the studio doing it, compromising visions and compromising, not just like we were talking about, well, that's Zack Snyder or, in a smaller sense. But it's really a bigger sense because a lot more people were involved in these movies and those opportunities are shot too, right?
Like, I can't imagine how many people had fucking, they cut over an hour and a half out of his original film. Plus, even what we got was like almost 90% reshot. So there's probably 3 hours of footage and other scenes that have not been seen yet. And how many actors were involved in those scenes? And, it'd be crazy to actually know. Like, that's why I really do hope we get to watch it one day and just be like, wow, that's totally different than what we got.
Right. And then everybody will get their due diligence. We will get to see their work. Hopefully they get opportunities down the road. And then I'm sure when it's really good, they're like, people are really receptive to that vision. Let's go back to that, so I think this whole having that Snyder Cut come out would open up the opportunities for other films and also possibly the Ayer cut, which we're gonna definitely champion for later on.
For sure.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool. Yeah.
Well, I think we're at the end of this podcast thing, but thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for sharing what you were able to share. Did you have any, and by the way, if you haven't, we couldn't see his work on Suicide Squad, but you'll get to see his work and his films, and I'll share those in the description below. Beyond Hell, the upcoming Sanctums, which I really hope I get to see on Netflix, and I think, judging from how Netflix works, I think they're really open to independent filmmakers such as yourself. So I think you got a good partner there, and I like how Zack Snyder really believes he's got a good partner there. What else would you like to share? Do you want to say any words to any fellow cast members or of these films that were cut? Would you like them to come out? Would that be something that you'd want them to do?
Yeah, absolutely. If they feel that, they need to voice their side of the story of what happened to them too. My heart definitely goes out to all of the people involved who didn't get to, see their work on the big screen. And totally understand that, those who don't want to speak about it, because maybe they just don't want to draw attention to the fact that their scenes were cut and stuff. So at the same time, I always appreciate that. Every artist, is their own individual and have their own feelings and thoughts on stuff. But yeah, the more of us that want to come forward, please do. We'll help share the stories, and hopefully moving forward in the future, it happens a lot less, especially when it is studio interference. And I just want to give a shout out to, all the filmmakers and artists and independent artists out there who are coming up. Keep working your craft. Acting and filmmaking is a full-time obsession. Never give up, and your dreams will come true. And then just enjoy the process along the way. I also definitely want to make sure to tell everybody to keep supporting the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. It's a very important cause, one that's near and dear to me. I've lost a lot of friends to suicide and stuff, and we need to keep the attention on that. And that I think that's even almost the backbone of our cause too. You know what I mean? movies and everything are great and give people hope and optimism and a little bit of levity in their lives that can be very difficult at times. And I know some of the films, like I've heard people come out and say that, you know, Man of Steel and BVS got them through some of the hardest times in their life. And they continually rewatch these films because they give them hope and optimism. And that's why respecting the director and respecting their vision is so important, because these films touch people and they're important to the fans. And, you know, we just got to do all we can to continue to support them.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Gavin, for coming on to my show and sharing what you can. Everybody, this is Gavin Downes. He's a filmmaker and actor. I'll list all the projects he's worked on in the description below. So, and for anybody else who want to come out and talk about what they can, or even just generally speaking, their dismay for being cut out of certain tentpole projects, or if you're aspiring filmmakers, I like to share that as well. So, but anyway, thank you very much, Gavin. I hope you have a wonderful day in Toronto, Canada. Is it cold now?
No, it's sunny and nice today, finally. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's
catching up.
well, it's like 80 degrees here. What is it like in Toronto, Canada?
No, it's like 16 degrees. It's not, it's not 80 degrees.
You're saying sunny, but I don't know about that. Yeah.
But thank you so much, man, for having me on the show. And it's great to meet you face to face. I'd love to meet you in person soon. And yeah, keep up the great work with the cause and everything. And yeah, thanks again, man.
Awesome. Well, mahalo. Thank you very much for coming on again. And we'll definitely talk again sometime soon. Well, everyone, awesome. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.